Hello, I'm Deja. I'm one of the admissions counselors at Wagner, and I'm really just here to kind of help moderate and make sure that all of our questions are being answered to the best of the ability that we can. For our students that are kind of tuning in and learning more about kind of our campus life and asking your questions, you can ask those questions directly into the Q&A that you'll see on the side there, or you can also message them directly to me in the chat as well. So however you want to do that is fine. I will see all of it and make sure that your questions are being asked. So I'm going to pass it over to Maggie. Would you like to introduce yourself? And then we'll go Tommy and then Claire.
Awesome. Thanks, Deja. So my name is Maggie Cross. I'm the Director of Student Engagement and Activities here at Wagner. And so my office oversees, I always joke, everything that's fun. So we oversee student organizations, our SGA, commuter student services, intramural sports, fraternity and sorority life, our campus programming board. We help out with spring breaks. We do some service stuff. And so we get to do a little bit of everything, which is really a lot of fun. And we also oversee orientation. And so if you do end up joining us here at Wagner, you will see probably my smiling face when you drive down that hill on move-in day.
And hi, everybody. My name is Tommy Tresser-Gielak. I'm the Director of Residential Education and Retention Specialist here at Wagner. So my primary responsibility is to oversee our residential program here, including our 4 residence halls, the RA staff, the programming, et cetera, et cetera. I'll let Claire speak a little bit about RA life when she goes through it. And then I also work a lot on retention at the college. So figuring out ways that we can help you all graduate in 4 years is something I spend a lot of my time thinking about and speaking about. And as Maggie alluded to, I am the person who has to organize when you move in and have that experience when you pull down the hill. So you'll see Maggie smiling and you'll see me trying to make sure that everything is running a-okay for that first thing. We're excited that you're able to come and hang out with us for a little bit. But I will turn it on over to you, Claire.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name's Claire. I am a rising senior at Wagner. I'm in my house in Fairfax, Virginia. I play on the field hockey team. I am an executive board member for the SGA. I am a residential assistant. Yeah. Oh, I'm an econ and marketing double major. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of this panel. Like I said, students, our admitted students that are joining us from home as well, feel free to send in your questions. But the first question that I guess I'll pose to our panelists, just to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit, maybe you could just talk a little bit in a broad sense, how do you get involved with activities at Wagner, or maybe, what kind of activities can you get involved in? And maybe we'll jump to Claire first from student perspective, and then Maggie and Tommy can join in too.
Yeah, so I actually remember my sophomore, because I'm actually a transfer student. So my sophomore year was my freshman year at Wagner, I guess. But basically, I remember being like, I would love this school if I got involved, and I would love this school if I knew how to do it. So for a while, I didn't know what to do, but I remember meeting one of my best friends, Winona, and she told me how to get involved and meeting people through that way, and that was been a huge how it changed my experience at Wagner is being involved, because I think I'm involved with a lot of things, and it's helped me how I know Tommy and Maggie. And so that's helped a lot, and that's how I've met a lot of my friends. So it's really nice to have we have SGA, we have CCP, and all these different things that you can be a part of, and it just makes your experience at Wagner so much better.
Awesome. Thanks, Claire. Yeah, we have a lot of ways to get involved in Wagner because we're such a small and close-knit community. I think it's kind of like a rolling snowball down the hill. Once you get involved in one thing, you get introduced to you get involved with something else, and then introduced to somebody else, and then there's a new thing that you're interested in. And so it's very there are a lot of opportunities to get involved. Some of the ways that we kind of build that into the Wagner experience, particularly for new students, is that we have not only orientation, where you meet the rest of your learning community, who are folks who will have, similar classes to you throughout your first semester and into the spring. But also you meet two upper class students who are your community leaders, and they kind of guide you through the orientation process. And so they can often connect you with a lot of different ways to get involved. We also have a week-long program called Week of Welcome, where we literally have programs every single day to usually introduce different student groups, introduce different types of programs that we typically offer throughout the semester. And then we also have one of my favorite events that's called Club Fair. It usually takes place on the Wednesday of Welcome Week. And it's a day out on our oval in front of beautiful Main Hall where all of our different student groups sign up, have tables, they display all of the different projects they work on, they have their event flyers, and you're able to basically sign up to find out more information about any club that you want. And so that's a really, really great way to get involved. And then in terms of other involvements, we also have our fraternity and sorority life program. And so we have 7 Greek organizations on campus. We have 4 sororities and 3 fraternities, one of which is co-ed. And you're able to join one of those organizations once you have 1 semester's worth of Wagner College grades. We do expect a minimum of a 2.5 GPA in order to be able to be a member of those organizations. And also, as Claire mentioned, we're a Division I institution. We have a lot of sports teams, but we also have an intramurals program. And so if you're just interested in playing more like a pickup game of basketball, soccer with your friends, you're also able to do those types of programs. And so we definitely have a lot of opportunities for students to get involved depending on what your interest level is. And then we also have a really, really robust series of service opportunities here at Wagner. Civic engagement is a huge piece of our community, and it's really woven into the fabric of what we do. And so all of our student organizations participate in some sort of community service, but we also have the Center for Leadership and Community Engagement, the CLCE, which offers a huge variety of different partnerships with organizations on Staten Island who do just a huge variety of nonprofit work. So there are definitely a lot of opportunities depending on what folks' interests are.
Awesome, thanks so much. And we did get our first student question that came into my personal line. So the first question for all of you is from one of our students. As a commuter student, how can I get, involved in all of these things on campus? Is it easy to do, even though I won't be dorming? And if I change my mind about dorming, am I allowed to move onto campus later?
Sure. Do you want me to take the involvement part, Tommy, and then you can take the resident? Okay, perfect. So, all of our involvement opportunities are open to commuter students equally as they are to residential students. I will say it can be a little bit trickier for commuters just because if you're not here on campus by default, it can get you have to manage your schedule a little bit more, I will say. However, we do have some, opportunities for just commuters. And so we have a commuter student lounge, which is located on the 2nd floor of our student union. It's right by our dining hall, right by a lot of our other student services offices. And then we also have commuter student lockers. And so, for example, if you want to, come to campus and you're going to be here all day, for example, but you don't want to carry your stuff every minute of that day, you can lock it in your commuter locker in the union, and then, come and go as you please to get some of those belongings. And then, really the commuter student lounge, I would say, is just a really great spot to hang out for commuter students because it's so centrally located. We also have a lot of residents who hang out there. We have a Nintendo Switch that we bought for that space, and so it becomes a very fiercely competitive room at various points during the day. And so there are definitely a lot of ways to get involved that are specific to commuters in addition to the ways that are just, universally for everybody.
Yeah, and I think to talk a little bit about how that intersects with then commuters seeking to become residents. I think the first thing is because we're so small, there's a lot of opportunity for us to have commuter students and residential students involved within the same organizations. Maggie talked, for example, a little bit about Greek life. And, the Greeks have lounges on their floors, and the commuters still have access, to those lounges as part of the organization. So we attempt here really actively to try to build opportunities for commuters to be involved. So I will say a few things in terms of if you're a commuter and you decide to become a residential student, it's a pretty easy and seamless kind of process. Myself or a member of my staff will kind of talk you through some of the uniqueness of kind of getting through depending on when you want to join. I've had commuter students want to come into housing the first day of classes. I've had them want to come in after a semester. I've had them want to come in after 3 years. Another unique thing that I get a lot of questions about is commuters who maybe are interested in being an RA and have some, concerns. Oh, well, I have to be a resident first. This coming year, we have 38 RAs. 5 of them coming in have come from commuter backgrounds, and that's 5 new staff members. And primarily, a lot of our commuters really became RAs because of their heightened involvement in activities and items ranging from all of the stuff Maggie talked about, from something like Claire is involved with and Maggie oversees as our Student Government Association, but also to the CLCE, or just to generally being in the LGBTQ affinity group and taking on a volunteer role. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to kind of find your footing and make that determination, regardless of where you're currently standing at your current, tenure with Wagner.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next question is about time management. So I'm going to pass this over to Claire. And with having so much going on campus and things to get involved in, and I know, Claire, you mentioned that you're also a student athlete and you are on the Res Ed team as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you manage your time as a student being so involved on campus?
Sure. So time management is pretty key in my life because I'm usually dealing with like 20 hours for field hockey, like 15 hours for class, like 15 hours for schoolwork, and then Res Ed is like anywhere from like 5 to probably 10 hours a week. So a lot of it is making sure I'm up with my schedule. Like today I actually registered for senior year, which is really exciting. And so just making sure that I have like everything figured out and planned out like ahead. And then also working with people. Like this year, I had SGA and Res Ed RA meetings on Monday nights, and just working like with Maggie and Tommy and making sure like we all were on the same page. And that's like one of the best things about Wagner is everyone's really accommodating, and it allows me to like do as many things as I do. And it's like there's usually not an issue with classes because I can like fit things around, and it's really not that. It seems like a lot, but it's not that bad.
Awesome, definitely. Thank you so much. Again, feel free sending your questions. I'm just going to kind of throw this out there. I may have mentioned this before, I don't know if I did, but I'm also an alum of the college, and something that I know happens quite a bit within our residence halls is our different kinds of programming. So could you talk a little bit about, and whoever wants to answer, maybe we'll throw this to Claire as an RA, maybe talk a little bit about the difference between what is a campus activity versus what are activities that actually happen in the dorms.
Yeah. So as always, we put on about 2 community builders or programs a month. The first one's like an active program, which is things like my floor did origami, and so we did that as a floor. And then we did community builders where like I get to know my residents a lot better. And for this, like when we didn't have too many because the semester was cut short, but I was just with my residents and we were just talking over like studying. And one of my favorite things, so last year I was in an RA and I grew very well, like not attached, but like I had a great relationship with my RAs, and they're some of like my favorite people. They were in my classes. I still talk to them, and like the bond you like kind of grow with your floor is really fun. And having those community builders or active programs are really fun. And it's like nice when you can just meet people that like you live next to, or it's like really nice when you like have a great floor and it's kind of like college, I guess. It's like you just have a fun time with your whole floor. I don't know.
Awesome. Definitely. Thank you so much. Another question for you guys. This is a little bit more specific. What arts related activities does Wagner offer? And can I participate in them outside of my major?
Sure. Wagner actually offers a lot of kind of extracurricular arts programs, particularly in the music and performing arts. And so I'm particularly thinking of, we have 2 student-run a cappella groups. One is co-ed and one is a women's organization. They do just tons of performances. They compete in the ICCAs. That's from Pitch Perfect. I only learned about it because they tell me about it all the time. But it is they're really competitive. They're really, really talented. A lot of them are not music majors. They're just people who love to sing. And so there aren't really any requirements in terms of your field of study to be involved in those student groups other than just an interest and skill at singing. We also have 2 student-run theater groups. One is called Student-Run Musical Theater, or SRMT. The other is called Completely Student Productions, CSP. And they each put on typically 2 shows per semester. So that's 8 additional shows per year in addition to what the main stage or our black box theater are doing. And again, those are typically actually acted by, and run by non-theater majors or by like first-year theater majors, that type of thing, folks who kind of want to get their feet wet in that world without necessarily being in the main stage at this point. And so those are really, welcoming environments. They're really close-knit groups, and they do put on incredible productions and great shows. And then we also have the dance club. We also have a dance team. So the club is kind of more casual. I guess the team is competitive, and they're a club sport. And those are all of the things that I'm thinking of right now. We've had an art club, like a visual arts club, kind of on and off throughout the years. And so when students are interested in it, they kind of start it back up again. When the interest wanes, it kind of peters off a little bit. But there are definitely a lot of opportunities available to folks. And I know at least for the visual arts, those courses are also often available to folks who don't have an art major. And so if you're interested in just taking courses in that, you're usually able to do so. And so it just depends on what your interests are. But there absolutely a lot of ways to get involved for non-majors. I'm also just thinking there are so many things. I'm like, more are occurring to me. We also have the Wagner College Choir and the Wagner College Marching Band and several other different band opportunities. And so if you're interested in musical performance with like instruments, also have several options available for you in that regard.
And I would also just make a quick plug that for first-year students in particular who are residential, we also have an arts and visual culture floor in Harborview. So when you apply for your housing, you'll have the opportunity to opt into a variety of floor communities. These are different than your LCs, which you'll hear a lot about once you kind of jump into the process and kind of do your new student form. And Deja and her team and colleagues will definitely help you all along the way with that. But the arts and visual culture floor is not a floor only for students that are either accepted or declared in the theater program, or students who are within a dance. It really is based on your interest. So one of the things that myself and Riley Schaefer, who you'll hear her name as you kind of come on board, we look at the applications to diversify who's on the floor, because I gain nothing if I have only theater majors on the floor. Now, I definitely will have theater majors on the floor, but if you're somebody if you're a Claire, for example, and you have a double business major, but you're like, oh, I'm really interested in, kind of like MoMA art, right? So like modern art and seeing what's going on, then you're somebody who I'm going to want to try to see if we can put on that floor and sort of create and help you find those niche markets that way. But like Maggie said, there's a lot of opportunities to be involved and even to audition for those different things. I can think of an RA that I've had, it was 2 years ago, and she was in hair and she was not a theater major. She got involved in what Maggie said. She was in some of the a cappella groups, she was involved in the choir, and then she subsequently starred in one of the main stage productions. So the opportunities are definitely there.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. And then a question for a student who is coming from far away, coming from somewhere that isn't considered like a local area, what is the hardest part about adjusting to Wagner, and what is moving into Wagner like? So yeah, if maybe want to kind of tag team it, Tommy and Claire as well.
Yeah, Claire, why don't you take it first and talk about a transition, because Fairfax is far from Staten Island. And then I can talk about move-in day.
It's 4 hours, so to me, I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. But most people at Wagner, not most, but a lot of people come from Long Island, like Staten Island or New Jersey. And like at first I was like kind of worried because some people go home a lot. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to see my parents. But actually it's perfect because I'm perfect like the amount of time away. But also one of my biggest things about schools is like I don't want to be bored on the weekend, is like, because then you realize like how homesick you are. So having like the city right there, and there's a lot going on the weekends, which is helpful. But it's also really nice because like I'm pretty close to Washington, D.C., which helps. But if I really want to go home, I'll take the shuttle to the ferry to the subway and then get on a bus and go to Washington, D.C., which is very helpful. And that's like a lot of students do that. Like there's like bus lines to go like to Boston or train or anywhere. So it's really not as bad as you'd think, unless you live in California. Then airplane, New York is close. So
So to kind of talk a little bit about the move-in experience and what we do is, if you want after this conversation, I hope we can engage you at least for a little bit longer before we lose your attention. If you want to go on YouTube, you can find actually some videos that we put up. We do one each year of what our new student move-in process looks like. And I will make note that Maggie and I particularly work on making sure that commuters have that type of welcoming experience as well. So although a lot of my answer will be about move-in, note that for the commuter students, Maggie, we do make sure you are part of the day as well. So you'll receive information kind of coming down for, I believe it's August 27th. It's that Thursday, August 27th, August 28th. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you'll get information. And basically, we have move-in volunteers. Claire has been one before, and if she's not, she definitely will be this year because it's required for RAs. But students will volunteer to help move your stuff into the residence halls. So you will literally pull down the hill. You will be taken out of the car politely by our student orientation coordinators and sent to get your key. And while you get your key and your loved ones or your friends or your family are staying with the car, a group of Claires, for example, will come and take all your stuff into bins and bring it to your room for you. So a lot of the time, by the time you're done checking in and getting your ID card and getting everything, your stuff is already in your room and like your bed is being made by a family member or a friend. So it really is pretty a seamless experience because our goal is to get you moved in and settled and then to hand you over to Maggie and the program that she builds for orientation for you to have really a 3-4 day seamless kind of crash course into like who is Wagner, what is Wagner, because we don't want you spending 35 hours setting up your room. You will set up that room, you will meet your roommate, and you will go off to orientation together where you will meet your CLs and sort of begin that experience. So really that day is, I hear a lot of students, they'll say, it all just sort of happened, right? I came in and then suddenly I was at college. And we try to make a really big deal out of it. It's really important to us. Our president and Joel and Jan Martin also love move-in day and are there helping you move in and coming in and out of your room. So there's a lot of opportunity. So it's a fun day, but I'd say go on YouTube if you find it, or Deja can send it out in the group chat as we talk. It's a cool video and it's a cool experience.
Yeah, I also just quickly wanted to address for students who are coming from far away. I mean, I know we have international students who come from as far away as, New Zealand, right? Like we have a really wide variety of folks on our campus, and we really do work hard to make Wagner feel like home for everybody. And so even when students are like geographically very far from home, I think that we succeed in having a really warm and friendly campus. And so even if you're not able to return home to your parents, for every single break, you would be hard pressed to end up having nothing to do essentially during those breaks. I know this past Thanksgiving we had a group of students who weren't able to go home, and actually I hosted Thanksgiving with my immediate family, and then we hosted Thanksgiving for everybody who is here on campus. And so it's really important to us as a community to really make sure everybody feels looked after and like they belong. And so while it definitely can be challenging for those students who have that like a lot of distance to cover to get back to their family, we try to become that collegiate family for the time being.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna actually post send to everybody that YouTube link that I just put in. You can copy and paste it, save it for later. Is the move-in day video that Tommy mentioned, so you all have that as well. The next question for all of you guys is, what is the campus environment like? And I'm going to add on to that a little bit, and maybe even just what is kind of like the campus culture like at Wagner. I think is a pretty popular idea around that. And I know, Maggie, you kind of already started to talk a little bit about that and about, the family of Wagner and things like that. So yeah, I'll pass it over to you guys.
I could continue with my spiel because I could talk about this all day. I know I actually just completed, we just did all of our interviews for our community leaders this past week, my assistant director and I, and we talked to, I don't know, about 80 or so students. And I think when we asked them, our final question for our interview was, what do you like about Wagner? And I think 80 out of 80 said the community. They just love the community and the people, and that really is what makes Wagner unique and special. I think that having this, everyone being distant right now is actually even especially hard for us because we're so used to feeling that closeness. But I think we've managed to find some really creative ways to maintain that community even at a distance. And I think that having the separation right now is going to make that feeling even stronger when we are able to return together this fall. And so I think that that community feeling, whether it's, Monica, our assistant director of public safety, every time she sees you because that's who she is, a lot of that really genuine appreciation and love for one another is really resident here. And so that's kind of what I think of when I think of, what is the Wagner experience like. I just think of that really, really strong sense of community and just warmth and welcoming.
Yeah, I would say for me, because I think it'll be interesting to hear Claire's opinions last, because Claire, I think, is a good person for you all to hear from, considering she's transferred to Wagner, right? So she has a different perspective as she's seen it. I have said this a lot. Wagner is the nicest place I have ever worked. I have been very lucky to work in different kind of colleges and universities type throughout like the course of my like 10 years in higher education. And one of the things that I have found at Wagner is people genuinely enjoy being here. I think for all of you to know, as you walk around colleges and universities, or now as you virtually walk around colleges and universities, right, and figure it out, there's a genuineness about Wagner and who we are and who we are trying to become and sort of the brand of students that we have. You may notice that we are all wearing green or Wagner stuff. One of the things is our assistant dean has started a thing called Wagner Wednesdays, kind of show Wagner's pride, excuse me, not Wagner things, Wagner pride. But I think one of the things that I notice is because, in my view, faculty and staff and the administration enjoy working here, we really enjoy working with the students, right? Like we are happy, like we are sad that we don't have our students on campus right now. We are excited to learn how to connect with them in this digital way, but I'm sure Claire can talk about that. Like people that you wouldn't have connecting with you at other institutions connect with you here at Wagner. Our president, Joel Martin, and Jan Martin bakes cookies for all of our first year students. Like she comes to your club events with Elvis, who's their dog. You'll get to know him, look at the Instagram. But like it's that type of environment that starts at the top, right? If you think about it, it really starts with the leadership. And our leadership is very much about students first, students forward, really making sure that we're working with you and also challenging you to grow as college students. That's not to say we're going to tell you you're right all the time. We're also going to help you grow and learn through those relationships. But it's because you know folks one-on-one that you're comfortable talking to somebody and we're not just some robot giving you a response, right? You'll get to know Maggie as the director of student engagement activities because you see her at lunch or because you were in that one meeting with her, or you were voluntold like Claire was last minute, like, hey, do you want to come on and be on a panel because Tommy volunteered you? So right, it's those opportunities that exist. But I think to know about Wagner is that as a whole and as a community, and I think we're seeing that a lot now, even if you scroll through our Instagram, like the messages from our president, we really care about our students, really care about making them successful. So I think that's probably my favorite thing, and to talk a little about the culture. But Claire, I would hand it over to you.
Okay. Actually, so I posted something on my Instagram story the other day, and the best thing of my life is that Jan Martin responded to it, and I was so excited. It was like I was posting pictures of people's dogs, and she responded, and she gave me a picture of Elvis. And if you don't know who Elvis is, you need to check him out because he's amazing. But basically, it made my life, and that's like my favorite thing. I have this goal at Wagner that I need to, like, I want to be able to say hi to everyone. Like, I just love when you like that's like one of my biggest, like in my house, all I see is my 4 family members. But at Wagner, I'd walk from like Harborview to Union to class, and I'd see so many people, and I get to say hi, and it's just so much fun. And then like we have these things called Oval Days, and it's the best day at Wagner. It's when it's just like nice out, and we have an oval in front of main hall, and everyone is just there, like playing spike ball or doing whatever. We're all just doing homework or like kind of doing homework, but mostly procrastinating. And it's really like, it just shows you like the genuine culture of like, these people want to be here. And these people, like, it's so easy to look at colleges and be like, oh, this place has really nice stuff and this place has that. But at Wagner, it's just so much deeper than that. It's so much like, Even like this past year, I've been looking for internships and I have been messaging people from Wagner through LinkedIn, and every one of them are like, wow, I miss Wagner so much. Like, of course I'll help you, anything you need. And it's like it's so much bigger than just a school. And a big thing right now that Joel is pushing is the idea that like Wagner isn't a place, it's a like an idea, or it's like deeply rooted within all of us of like a spirit. So that's like my favorite thing. I just love being there.
Thank you guys so much. I love all of those answers and definitely echo all of that awesome sentiment about Wagner. It is also my happy place. We have another question. So, living on Staten Island and having campus on Staten Island, what access do you have to nature? And yeah, Maggie, do you want to? Yeah.
Question. So I actually came to Wagner from Western Massachusetts. I don't know if anyone's familiar, but it is like as natural as you can get. It's like really rural, open country. And so I joke that when I lived in Western Massachusetts, my neighbors were llamas, and then I moved to Staten Island, and it was different. But I think that the beautiful thing about Staten Island specifically is that it is one of the lesser populated boroughs of New York City. And also just our campus itself has so much beautiful green space. There really is a lot of nature on campus. When I drove up actually for the first time, I remember thinking like, oh, this is not what I was expecting, but I'm so happy. Like it really is much more green and beautiful and like very collegiate looking is sort of the only word I can think of. But we also have really a lot of beautiful parks and trails that are all run by the city of New York. And so we have Clove Lakes Park, which is just down the road, kind of around the corner from where we are. We also have beaches on Staten Island, some beautiful historical sites that have been preserved really well. And so I would say there's actually, a lot more than you'd expect in terms of access to nature. But the other nice thing about being on Staten Island is that you're, a very short drive away from like New Jersey, Pennsylvania. And so if you want to, if you want wilderness, that's actually relatively accessible still because of our location. There are kind of fewer bridges to cross, I guess you could say, to get to like the great outdoors. But there's also a lot to be enjoyed here, either on campus or just in our immediate vicinity as well.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. And I'll also kind of tack on to that a little bit too. Maggie mentioned, just enjoying our campus, but I think one of the other things that makes Wagner really special is that even though we are in New York City, Staten Island is one of the boroughs, we still get to have this really magnificent campus that a lot of schools that are in this New York City, they don't get to have quite that same caliber of both campus feel with city and things like that. And because, in just a short shuttle ride and a trip on the Staten Island ferry, you're right in downtown Manhattan, very accessible as well. So I feel like you're definitely getting kind of the best of both worlds with that. The next question for all of you, how do students generally spend their free time on weekends, or I guess even not on weekends too, but what do you see most, like, are students leaving, staying? I know you kind of touched on this a little bit. Claire mentioned, local students maybe leaving and things like that, but what kind of things go on during weekends to do?
I guess I can start. A lot of people go to the city, especially freshman year. I remember when I was there because it was my sophomore year, but I think there was like 10 weekends in a row where we went to the city. And it's literally sometimes you just go in and get a slice of pizza, or you just go in and get ice cream, or you just go in to see go on the ferry. But also there's this really nice thing that just opened by the ferry is the outlet mall. So it has like a Nike and H&M and everything. It has really it's really pretty to see the skyline. So that's really fun, and we do that a lot. Like when we have to bring recruits for field hockey, we always bring them there because it's like so much fun. And then like overall, a lot of times people are, there's a lot of homework because they're in college, so I do that a lot. And a lot of it is just like hanging out with my friends. Like sometimes we'll just go on walks around Staten Island or around Wagner just because it's sometimes like really nice out, and it's really nice not to like be on campus and just like walk around, but there's a lot to do.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Another question for all of you guys. What is the food like at Wagner, and kind of what kind of dining options are available? guess I'll throw that to Claire or Tommy first, and then.
So I can talk at least about the dining options that are available and a little bit about it. So I will say, in terms of the dining, number one, Wagner has the best lemon bars. If you come here, like people are laughing, they are so good. I don't know what it is, but I don't know if you don't like lemon bars, you'll like them now. So if you come here and you see them, you eat them, right? That and the chocolate chip cookies are like the two things that I see students like go toward. In terms of dining options, we have a variety of dining options that I'll kind of say as a broad stroke. So students that are residential pick from 3 types of meal plans. If you're a freshman, you get 2 types, or a first-year student, or anybody aside from a senior. We have a special plan for seniors and graduate students that's limited because, like Claire mentioned, if you're interning, you may need a little bit more flexibility. So basically, you either get 19 meals a week or 14 meals a week. 19 meals means you'll eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner Monday through Friday, brunch and dinner Saturday, Sunday. The 14 meals a week is basically minus breakfast, right? That's basically minus 1 meal. And then you get flexi dollars. Flexi dollars are dollars you could use if Claire and I were grabbing a coffee before we went somewhere, or you wanted to grab something to eat quick, sort of like a dwindling debit card of additional dollars you get to spend. Depending on the plan you take, if you have 19 meals, you get 50 flexi, 14 meals, 125. The recommendation for all new students is that you take 19 meals a week and 50 flexi dollars, because you are going to have morning classes, and that's not a Wagner thing. That's going to happen anywhere you go. You're going to have an 8 o'clock class or an 8:15 class. Process it now. You'll be fine. And then eventually, when you're Claire picking as a senior, I bet Claire didn't pick an 8 a.m. class if she didn't have to. So that's it. I will say for our dining, one of the things that's unique about Wagner and goes toward my previous entity is we have a head chef who works one-on-one with our students so well and so specifically. Actually, right before we had to discontinue in-person service, they had just opened up an allergen-free zone to help students. But if you have a specific dietary restriction or a specific need, he'll even prepare your meals for you personally. I can let Claire talk a little bit more about the specific foods and like the things to do and things to not get, or like all of those good things. But I would say our dining here is very student forward, very student focused, and does whatever they can to support folks long term. But I don't know if Maggie has something, or Claire, you want to talk a little bit about the food at Wagner.
Yeah, so I have a theory that if you don't like food from Wagner, you're just not creative, because every morning I have it down to a T. What I get like, and it all fits on my swipe for the day. And so sometimes people like to criticize and say like, oh, there are no options or anything. But if you ask, like, the workers are so nice. Like, Phil makes my eggs in the morning. He's the omelet guy and I love him. I don't know if he loves me, but I love him. And I'm
Hang on, Claire, we lost you. Hold on.
oh no.
Oh, you're back. Okay, you're back.
Okay.
We heard about your love for the omelet, and then you went out. Your computer
Okay.
couldn't take it. Too much love.
And, like, if I ever have questions about something, or if you are like vegan or something, they'll like fry you tofu or anything. They're so nice. And like then in Hawks, I always get coffee, and they're like, Phasia is the best human alive. And so it's hard because you go from home and where everything's very catered to what you want, and then you go to Wagner and you're like, oh, but they don't have like the certain toast or certain eggs I like. But if you can figure it out and like just be super creative in Hawks, it's perfect. I miss it every day.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any additional questions roll in. I will kind of ask like a little final round question and give anyone a last chance to kind of give us any questions that they may have from the attendee side. But I guess what we can kind of wrap up with, if you could pick, one thing about Wagner that kind of makes it stand out from another place, or something that's your favorite. I know we kind of talked a lot about the community and things like that already, but maybe if you just tell us your one favorite thing about Wagner, maybe it's your favorite place on campus or your favorite class that you've taken, Claire, or something like that. But yeah, and we'll kind of leave it on that happy note. Claire, would you like to start us off? Or Maggie or Tommy, anyone.
Okay, all right. My favorite thing, there's so many, oh my gosh. I think that Wagner just is so amazing that you can do so many things. Like the fact that it's like insane that I get to be a Division I athlete. I'm an RA. I might be vice president next year. Who knows? We'll see. I'm running unopposed, but um, like being able to do all those things is like it's my dream. It's so nice to be able to go to a college that's that, but it's also so amazing that I just get like every day I wake up and I get to like be at my favorite place and see so many people that like have the same ideas as me. And so being able to go to a college where also like it's really cool that I'm a business major and I like sit like in one of my marketing classes, the girl next to me probably wants to be on a show in Broadway, and I could never think of that. But it's really nice, like just the differences in at Wagner College, and it's something like you wouldn't expect, or it's something that a lot of people don't really realize is so cool. So I guess I just love, I don't know, I love everything.
Thank you so much. Tommy, I'm going to have you answer next. And also we have one final question, it looks like, which is about the dorms. Is there adjustable heating and AC? And maybe you can speak to that before you tell us your favorite thing.
Yeah, so in terms of our residence halls, two of our residence halls have central air in them. That's Harborview Hall and Foundation Hall. Towers and Guild Hall do not have air conditioning in them. They all have heating though, so there's no need to be worried about that. I would say like we can have different conversations about the ways that students make things work, and fans that we get that kind of cool down the rooms relatively quickly. We're lucky for those two buildings. They don't really sit directly in the sunlight. You get sunlight, but it's not like beating directly in on you. Just because we have, very like Deja was saying, we have the beauty of a city and a suburb all at the same time. We have actual trees like that I'm looking at right now that are in bloom outside of your windows. Like you'll have a tree, so that's a good option. But yes, you can adjust the heat and air conditioning to a certain extent within the rooms in Harborview and Foundation. So is that enough on that, Deja, or do I need more?
Yeah, I think that's good. Oh, and you kind of spoke to this already, but just one more adjacent question to that is what does like the dorm provide so they know what to bring and whatnot. I know Tommy talks a lot about this as you guys start to prepare for move-in day and orientation, but if you want to just briefly answer that.
So we provide a bed, a dresser, a desk chair, and a closet for you, as well as your blinds for the windows. All of the tapestries and the drapings and the decoration are on you and your roommate. My biggest recommendation, and you may hear me say this as you get prepared, do not go out and buy anything just yet. Wait until you talk to your roommate. There's numerous times that we send out roommate pairings and people say, well, we both bought a rug, we both brought a tapestry, we both brought a TV, we both brought a fridge. So don't do that just yet. You can start buying your bins and your totes, but don't start buying those major big things until you find out your roommate, and that'll be about the middle of July. But that's what comes with the room, as well as like obviously the bathrooms and all of that. That are the communal bathrooms, and we provide shower curtains and all of that. But you have to bring your own shampoo and your own caddies and all that good stuff. But yeah, so and if there's more questions, we have on the website, we have a specific list under the buildings of what we offer. Thanks, Deja. So my favorite thing about Wagner, so I have two. I couldn't decide on, but two of them are interrelated. The first one that I really like about being able to see folks at Wagner is seeing you all like sort of thrive and find your niches. I think it's really cool to watch, people like become stars on the main stage, or watch the PAs start wearing their white coats to classes, or to see, like new RAs like Clara is coming into the fold and having to learn very quickly, right? Or seeing people succeed. I think that's really cool because at Wagner, you get the opportunity to explore those different identities that Claire was talking about. For me, as like someone who works here to support you, that's really interesting and really cool to see that happen and to watch you turn those challenging moments into moments where you like succeed and you thrive. The thing that I think is my favorite moment is a moment that I have once a year, and that is when the first car comes down on move-in day. There is something about the culmination of like my own personal work, right, and trying to have that, but the students will cheer for you and yell for you and kind of play the music as you come down. And we do that for every single car, so just not the first one. But watching that sort of happen is a really cool experience because it very much feels like it's a new day and kind of a new year on Wagner. I sort of feel like I am the first ink on the page for the academic year at Wagner. So it's nice to know we started off on a good foot. And Maggie's been there, Claire's been, Deja has actually helped coordinate it before. So that's probably my favorite. Those are my two favorites.
Thank you, Tommy. Maggie?
You stole both of my answers.
Oh.
But I'll allow it. No, I agree. I mean, I think that as an administrator who works at the college, it is such a gift and a blessing to be able to watch students develop and grow and become themselves over the course of their time at Wagner. I think that's really the most special thing to me, is because I do work with students right away when they come into colleges or as first year students. I meet them on the first day of orientation. A lot of the time people are kind of nervous or scared, or I joke the number one word I think about with orientation is that feeling of bravado, like I'm fine and this is fine and I'm not terrified and it's all going according to plan. And I think that a lot of students just feel that nervous butterfly feeling, and then to watch them join the organization that really turns on a light for them, to watch them join a club that really triggers their interests, or just to see them lead and to see them succeed is such a beautiful and special thing. And I think I actually have the exact opposite answer, Tommy, of my favorite moment is commencement. I really, really love watching our students kind of come away with this huge accomplishment. I love getting to meet their parents and kind of being able to see and their families and friends, and kind of seeing wow, you're the group of people who set them up for this success. I got to kind of coach them through their success at Wagner, and now we're all kind of coming together in this moment. And I had a really special moment actually last year during commencement where one of our student selected, or student speakers rather, who are selected by some of our vice presidents, one of them quoted me in her commencement speech about something that I had said on one of our alternative breaks. What I didn't tell her is that I was actually quoting a mentor of mine. And so it was just this very kismet amazing moment of you're quoting me, but I'm quoting somebody, and oh, just the way that we're able to really, you can see the impact that individuals have on one another, and just those human connections that are so powerful and so strong. It's such a special thing to see that all play out and to see it all bloom so beautifully in each of our students. So I think that those are my two favorites.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for answering this slew of questions for some of our admitted students. This session has also been recorded, so we're starting to kind of figure out how we are able to get this to you in case you want to refer back to these wonderful answers that we've been able to give. And yeah, so thank you panelists again, and thank you everyone for tuning in during this time. And as always, if you have any questions or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out to anyone at Wagner, but definitely reach out to your admissions counselor, or feel free to also ask your questions on the Class of 2024 Facebook page as well. Yeah, and I hope everyone stays well during all of this stay-at-home time and tries not to go a little too stir crazy. So yeah, well, thank you all very much, and we'll see you all soon.